listen to me as I slow it down. Can't tell yours if you want it. Enjoy the ride, 'cause those ups and those downs is what makes it worth it.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Nitty Gritty Podcast. So that is going to be our official name now. I thought it was a cute little play on words, especially with Team GoldenGrit, Nitty Gritty. I thought it was cute, so we're going to roll with that. But this is episode 2, and today we are going to be talking about first-time bikini competitors. Where should you start? Now, before we hop into that, I kind of want to talk about the weekend we had. So I posted a video a couple days ago about the NPC Women's Workshop. So I'm not going to go into too much detail because you can easily just go watch that video if you want to see what actually happened in it. But I just want to say briefly, it was a lot of fun. That was my first NPC Women's Workshop that I went to. This is an event that got RSVP'd out, I guess you can call it. It was a free event, but there was like a limited amount of spots that you could get. And I set my calendar, and the day those tickets went on sale, I went and I grabbed some. And I'm really happy that I did. It was a lot of good information, especially if you are a new competitor. It gave you a lot of basic information about posing, hair, makeup, but I really enjoyed when we did the breakout sessions and they talked about social media presence, how to get sponsorships, stuff like that. But like I said, I wasn't going to go into too much detail. So go watch the video if you want to see like the goodie bag and like what actually happened there. I briefly talked about Jacob's fishing trip on that video as well. So it was a huge Celsius weekend for him because the fishing charter that he went on, it was sponsored by Celsius. And then when we went to the event, there was Celsius people there as well, and they wanted to take pictures with him for like a promo and stuff. So that was really cool. But when I was editing that darn video, I said I was going to put up photos of the fish that he caught, and then I totally forgot to do it. So if you go watch that video and there's pictures that pop up, I have somehow figured out to go back and add them in. If not, I'm going to put up the photos here. But it just blows my mind the weird ass fish that you can find in the ocean. Fish that I didn't even know existed, because I've grown up in Iowa, so we just had like pond fish. It really makes me think like, holy shit, when we go surfing, this is the shit we're swimming around with. So there's a lot of stuff that we aren't aware of that we're just like diving in, but it's still fun. Otherwise this week has gone by really smooth. All the girlies out there, The Bachelor, the new season just started up. I have not watched it yet, but I'm so excited for it because I feel like I haven't seen The Bachelor in such a long time. I was dying for a reality love show so bad. I started watching the show Farmer Wants a Wife, and it's so cheesy, but at the same time, I'm not gonna lie, I watched the whole season within a couple of weeks. Like, that was my cardio show that I watched, and I low-key ended up really enjoying it. So if they come out with another season, which I think they are, I'm probably going to watch it as well. But it's so funny because it just reminds me so much of how, like, dating in the Midwest was like. Like, everyone was a farmer, and it's so funny watching that show and then comparing it to The Bachelor and how, like, mannerisms are different. Because essentially, it's the same thing. There's one guy, he has a group of girls, and he's dating them all, trying to narrow them down. But the farmer show, they, like, don't show much affection towards the women. Like, he's barely kissing them, if he actually does. He's not having much physical touch. Like, they're not doing much. And at first I was like, well, fuck, are they all just, like, super awkward? Like, what are they doing? But then I heard him like explaining it, and he's like, hey, I just don't find that respectful to go meet this person's family, say how much I care about her, to go off and kiss her and then go do the same to another family like a couple days later. That doesn't sit right. And I was like, he's got a point. And so that's what just is, I guess, mind-boggling, that's like what The Bachelor sets up, and you just find that normal now. But when you get like a quote-unquote regular person, or someone who has, I guess, really high respect for the people around them, how they act different. So anyway, enough about that. If you're looking for another reality love show, I would highly recommend it. Kind of cheesy in the beginning, but it's a cute little show to watch, especially for cardio. But let's go ahead and let's dive into today's topic. So, if you are a new competitor, so you have never done bodybuilding before, but you are thinking about competing, there is a lot of questions in the beginning, especially regarding how the heck do I even start? So, first things first, you got to ask yourself, do you want to make this as easy as possible, or do you want to make it hard? If you tell yourself, I want to make this as easy as possible, then I say go find a coach, ask them for their opinion, listen to them, and go that route. Because that's going to be the easiest for you. You won't have to filter through a whole bunch of information. You won't have to worry about doing it wrong. You're just guided the whole entire way. For some people, that's not an option, or they just want to do it themselves, which is totally fine. You just have to have, obviously, a lot more experience and do a heck of a lot more research and just kind of have that trial and error as it goes. No matter what path you choose, the very first thing that you need to do is track your damn calories, aka macros, because you need to know your starting point. You need to know your baseline, where you're starting out. And knowing how much calories you're getting in, and then also knowing how much protein, carbs, and fats you're getting in is going to tell you a lot of information, and it's going to tell you what phase you need to start in. Because a lot of people, when they think about starting prep, doing a bodybuilding competition, they only think of the dieting side of things. But that is not the only thing to bodybuilding. There's so much more around it. And you really need to make sure that you are set up and you are ready for a successful prep before you even start trying to diet. And tracking your calories I recommend usually a full week. So then that way you get data over the week, but then also data over the weekend as well. Because usually people's food intake greatly vary between those days. You can establish your baseline and figure out where you're starting. So, let's talk about our metabolism and how we lose weight. Because we need to understand that to understand really why we're tracking these calories in the first place. So, our metabolism is the amount of calories we can eat to maintain our body weight. So if we're eating the exact same amount of calories as our metabolism, our body weight's going to stay the same. It might fluctuate up and down just a little bit, just because day to day we have small body fluctuations. But over like the span of a week or span of a couple months, our weight should relatively be the same. Now, if we eat over our metabolism, we gain weight. If we eat under our metabolism, we lose weight. So, knowing that, we know in the future, hey, when I go on prep and I want to start losing weight, I am going to have to eat below my metabolism. Let's say we track our calories throughout the week and we're only eating 1,600 calories. When we start prep, we're going to have to bring our calories down to like 1,100. and that is not a lot of calories. Starting your diet super low is not going to make it easy on you. One, it's not going to be as fun because you're barely eating any food. It's not going to be good for maintaining your muscle mass. You're risking losing muscle throughout the process, which again, this is bodybuilding. Like, it's not about just getting lean. It's just as important to have that muscle base as being, stage lean. It's not going to be as good hormonally on you. There's a lot of things going on. So we also need to realize how our metabolism works throughout the dieting process. So our metabolism isn't just like a set amount. Our metabolism has a window, and it can move up and down throughout this window. So if we're eating at 1600 and we're starting down at 1100, we're going to start losing weight because we're eating in that calorie deficit and we're eating below our metabolism. But our bodies are designed for survival. Even though it's 2023, the majority of people don't have problems finding food, our bodies are still designed as hunter-gatherers. We're still designed as like people back in the caveman days who had to go out and actually find their food. So we are designed for survival. So if our body recognizes, hey, I'm having trouble finding food, I'm not getting in enough food, and I'm consistently losing weight, I don't want to keep losing weight because eventually I'm going to run out of energy storage, aka body fat, and I'm going to be at a survival risk. So what it does is that it lowers its metabolism to meet the amount of calories that we are currently getting in. So our metabolism was at that 1600 range, but we're eating 1100 calories. Our body recognizes, hey, I'm having trouble finding food, so it lowers its metabolism down to that 1100 range. And now we're eating the same amount as our metabolism once again. And that essentially is why weight loss plateaus happen. It's just our metabolism lowering down. That's all it is. We're already assuming that that's going to come up. So if our calories are already really low to begin with, eventually when we do hit that weight loss plateau, we're going to have to bring calories even lower. So if you're eating 1100 calories, you hit that weight loss plateau, we're going to have to bring calories down to what? 800? And again, that is way too low. That is not healthy for you. And that's just after our one weight loss plateau. If you have 20, 30 pounds to lose to step on stage, you're going to be hitting a lot more than just one weight loss plateau. That is just the truth. So we need to be prepared for those things to happen. So, with all of that being said, now we have the education of how our body loses weight. We can prepare ourselves for that process. So we want to get our metabolism boosted up as high as we can before we start dieting, because that's going to put us in the most optimal spot for prep. So let's use that same example. You track your calories throughout the week. You consistently take in 1600 calories. We do not want to start a diet there. So we're going to first go through a metabolic boosting phase. Some people know this as a reverse diet. Essentially what that is we're just training that metabolism to burn through more calories again. So over a span of several months, we're going to get those calories up and we're going to get that metabolism firing at its most optimal, highest spot. So then now, once we take that time to boost that metabolism and our metabolism is up a lot higher, we're going to have more room to bring it down over time throughout that dieting process. So we're going to be prepared for weight loss plateaus. We're going to be in a better spot to maintain more of our muscle mass. we're going to be a lot happier during prep because we're not going to have to eat barely any food. We're going to be able to enjoy more food. We're going to have more flexibility that way. And then it also goes into like the cardio side of it as well. We're not going to have to do as much cardio, so we're not going to be as physically tired. All in all, it's just setting you up for a better, more successful prep. So to kind of recap on all of that, if you are thinking about starting a bikini competition, very first thing you do, besides find a coach, is to track your calories and determine how much you're eating on a normal day-to-day basis. Now, when you do this, don't try to eat healthier than normal. Don't try to eat more than normal. Just eat how you normally eat. I don't care if you go out and have fast food 4 times a week. I don't care if you're demolishing a tub of ice cream at the end of the day. Track that in your macros. I want you to be as realistic as possible because that's going to give us the true look of what your metabolism is. Once you have that data, then you can determine if you need to go through a metabolic boosting phase / reverse diet, or if your metabolism is already in a good spot and you are ready to go right into prep. So that's thinking of it from like the metabolic standpoint. Now, we also have to think of it from a muscular standpoint as well, just because, like I said earlier, bodybuilding is not just about being lean and being on stage. You can be hella lean and be the perfect amount of body fat and still not win. And that's because you don't have enough muscle or you don't have good muscle balance. So you need to have that base of muscle before you start prepping as well. So again, this is where it helps out to have a coach, because your coach should be able to do a physique evaluation on you, and then they can assess if you do need more muscle or if you have enough muscle for your first competition. They'll be able to assess if you need to balance out your physique before you step on stage. They'll be able to let you know essentially if you need to go through a muscle building phase. And a muscle building phase is going to be very similar to that reverse diet or metabolic boosting phase. You can actually do both of those at the same time, just because when you are boosting your metabolism and taking in more calories, that just goes right hand in hand with building muscle. So at that point, you might as well kill 2 birds with 1 stone. But another thing is just take your time. Like, a lot of people, they get super excited about it. Like, this is a fun new journey to start, but just take your time. Don't expect to hop into a 16-week prep, become super lean, and then step on stage. For some people, you can do that. But for a majority of people, it's not that easy. It's not that quick. They need to go through the reverse diet. They need to go through a small muscle building phase. They might even need to go through a small mini cut before they go into an actual cut for prep. So what I mean by that is, if you have a big amount of body fat on you, it's hard to see what your structure actually looks like. That would be equivalent to wearing like sweatpants and a sweatshirt and then going up to a coach and being like, hey, can you look at my body and like tell me what areas I need more muscle on? They're going to be like, sure, but let me take your sweatshirt off. Take your sweatpants off. I can't see anything. That's kind of the same with body fat. If you have a whole bunch of body fat on top of your muscle base, you can't really see as well of like how much muscle you have, because it can be deceiving. And this kind of goes into the whole like wellness discussion. A lot of people, when they're debating if they should go into wellness or bikini, they're like, oh, I should go into wellness because I have a bigger lower body. Okay, that might be true, but at the same time, us as females, we typically hold a lot of our weight in our lower body. You might be the type of person that you're just holding a lot of body fat in that lower body. And if you would theoretically remove all of that body fat, you might find out that your legs are a lot smaller than you thought they were. So by going through a little mini cut before you actually hop into prep to step on stage, it kind of pulls back the curtains. It kind of removes that sweatpants and sweatshirt to see what your muscle base looks like. So then that way your coach can evaluate your physique and be like, hey, we lost a little bit of weight. I can see your structure a little bit better. It does look like we need to build your shoulders a little bit more. It does look like we need to build your lower body a little bit more. So then that way when you do step on stage, you look truly competitive. Like you look like you are a competitor, not just someone who lost weight and wants to step on stage. And then that also brings me to the point of you need to ask yourself, why are you doing this? If you're doing this as just a bucket list item of just something to check off your list, then okay, maybe we don't have to get as competitive and as specific as someone who wants to do bodybuilding because they want to win their pro card and because they want to step on the Olympia stage and take it super seriously. And I mean, either of those scenarios are totally fine. If you want to do a bikini competition just because you want to check it off your bucket list, all the power to you, girl. You go do that. But like I said, we might not have to take it as seriously. If you just want to do it to have a big transformation, then we just need to make sure that your metabolism is in a good spot, and then we can cut you down to step on stage. If you want to be more of a competitive person, we're going to make sure your metabolism is okay. We're going to evaluate to make sure you have enough muscle. If you do, then we can go into prep. If you don't, then we're going to go through a muscle building phase first and then go into prep. So you can see how those two scenarios will have a little bit of a different path. But all in all, if you're thinking about doing bodybuilding, try it out. It can be a scary experience, or I don't want to say a scary experience because that's not true. It can be thought of as a scary experience, but you learn so much information about your body when you go through a prep. You will learn what foods work best with you. You will learn your limits, how far you can push yourself. You'll be surprised of how much further, how much more work you can do than you actually think. But another huge thing is you will learn so much about nutrition, especially if you go the macro tracking route. You will learn how to make healthy meals, how to get in enough protein throughout the day. You will learn skills that you will be able to take long-term throughout your life. And I mean, all in all, you have a great body transformation. You look super lean, you look great. And if you do a proper reverse diet after the show, you can keep that fantastic looking body the rest of your life. So there's a lot of good opportunity that comes up with bodybuilding. Not to mention making friends and all of that stuff. So that's the dieting side of things. So another huge thing about starting bodybuilding is not just the diet and the training, but it's also about the posing and presentation as well. And this is kind of where a lot of people get confused because they're like, oh my gosh, I have to diet, I have to train a certain way, I have to do posing, and it just feels like it's this pile just dumped on them. Yes, there's a lot of parts in bodybuilding, but start by focusing on just one thing. Start by focusing on going to the gym 5 times a week and doing good ass weightlifting sessions. Then add in some nutrition. Then add in specifying everything to bodybuilding. And then add in your posing routine. So then that way you're taking steps, you're not just like loading everything at once. But when it does come to posing, when you are ready to start that, which you are ready to start it as soon as you have a good grasp on everything else. So it doesn't matter if you are 30 weeks out. It doesn't matter if you're 6 weeks out. I mean, hopefully, if you're 6 weeks out, you've already been posing for a long time now. But all I'm trying to say is it doesn't matter the length or the amount of time it is for you to step on stage. Start posing as soon as you can, because the more time you have to practice, just the better it's going to be for you. And you can even start by just watching some YouTube videos online of real-time shows. So then that way you can see, okay, what are the mandatory poses that I need to do? What does, it look like to be on stage? If you have a local show to go to, even better. Go to that local show so you can see in real time what it looks like to be on stage, what their routines look like. So then that way you can just get a good feel of it. Again, find yourself a posing coach. You can do a lot of great things by watching videos online, but having a posing coach is going to be able to weed out your bad habits a lot quicker. You're going to be doing weird things that you don't even realize you're doing. I have done several competitions in the last couple of years, and I believe I talked about this on my last podcast episode, but my posing for my first show, it was absolutely terrible. I don't know anybody who has posed really good on their first competition, but you can at least see throughout my competitions as the time went on, posing did get better. I felt like I had more confidence. You evolve over time, just like anything else. You're going to get better with more practice. So again, you necessarily don't have to practice just when you're on stage. Practice every single day when you're done weightlifting. Practice on the weekends. Practice for a couple minutes when you do your check-ins with your coach. Just practice as much as you can throughout the week. Practice walking in heels. So when you have a date night, wear heels to your date night. When you're doing the dishes, when you're vacuuming the house, wear your heels. So that way you just get more comfortable in that environment. But all in all, if you step on stage and you pose absolutely terrible, just know that's a part of the process. You just evaluate yourself, know what you need to fix, and then just get better from there. One other thing about bodybuilding competitions is supplements. Now, a lot of people think that when you're going through an extreme transformation, that you need to have this huge list of supplements that you need to take. And if you don't take these supplements, you're not going to get as much gains. You're not going to get as much results. You're basically wasting your time, which is not true. Supplements can be one of my pet peeves, and that's because I feel like it almost gets over promoted. There are some supplements that can be super helpful, but I really think supplements are very situational. It really depends on what you need. Honestly, a lot of people sit there and just promote supplements because they get monetary compensation back, meaning they get paid for it. So either they get paid from you buying it, or they get paid for promoting these products. And honestly, a lot of big bikini competitors, when they do their posts about supplements, it's because they're getting paid from it. So you really want to make sure that you're not just buying these supplements because they use it or because they are posting about it. You want to get these supplements because it's going to actually benefit you. Like I said, some supplements can be very useful, but it depends if you need it. I think that there is a handful of supplements that no matter what stage you're in can be very helpful for you. One is pre-workout. I feel like that is, pretty obvious. It's going to give you energy in the gym. It's going to help you perform better. You're going to be able just to get better quality lifts in. So it doesn't matter if you're in a weight loss phase. It doesn't matter if you're in a muscle building phase, pre-workout. If you are the type of person that doesn't do well with caffeine, or if you just like to drink a lot of caffeine throughout the day, there are non-stim pre-workouts, meaning there's no caffeine in it. Like personally for myself, I gotta be careful with it because I'm the type of person that really loves caffeinated drinks. I love my coffee. But, which by the way, did you know if you go to Starbucks and get their nitro cold brew coffee, that is like 300 milligrams of caffeine? I'm pretty sure there's 300 milligrams of caffeine. Let me look this up because I want to make sure I'm not saying inaccurate stuff. Okay, I was a little off, 280 milligrams. But that's still like a decent amount. Like that is a little bit more than energy drink. I mean, depending on what energy drink you get. There's some energy drinks that are 300, which is just a stupid amount. But still, if you're having a Starbucks coffee in the morning, that's 280 milligrams of caffeine. Plus you want a fizzy drink in the afternoon. So you grab yourself a Celsius, which that is another, I think like at least 200 milligrams. So that's going to be 480 milligrams of caffeine. Plus you go and have pre-workout that can be anywhere from 200 to 300. So let's just say 200 on the low end. I mean, you're pushing towards like 500, 600 grams of caffeine, and that is not good for you, honey. Do not do that. You should be capping yourself at like 400 milligrams of caffeine. Preferably, I like to stay under 300, and I recommend staying under 300, but 400 is kind of like that cap mark. So that's why I'm saying if you like having those extra drinks throughout the day, get a non-stim pre-workout so you can have the caffeine in other sources. Just make sure that that is not affecting your workout. Personally, I feel like I get a better workout with stimulant pre-workouts, so I would rather drag a little ass throughout the day and be a little bit more tired and have my pre-workout so I can actually weightlift and have that energy during my workout when I feel like it's really necessary. But anyway, pre-workout, that is pretty much a good supplement for anyone. If you have troubles getting in protein, then protein powder could be a good one for you. Personally, I don't have troubles getting in enough protein just because I love to bulk up the amount of protein in my main meals. So I'll have my breakfast, my lunch, my dinner. And when I make those meals, the first thing I plan is my protein. So when I'm tracking my macros, at the end of the day, I shouldn't say at the end of the day, once I have everything tracked, because I figure out all my macros in the morning. If it falls a little bit short in the protein category, I will just go back to one of those 3 sources of protein and I'll just increase it. And that is a super easy way to make sure you're hitting your protein intake. But if for some reason you just want to have a protein drink, or that's just an easier way for you to eat and get in your protein, then protein powder would be good. But again, you can get it through your normal food sources and be totally fine. If you're in a muscle building phase, creatine is going to be really good for you. If you're in a weight loss phase, creatine would still be a perfectly fine thing to continue to take. If you're not currently taking creatine and you start a muscle build or you start a weight loss phase, I wouldn't recommend to now start it up. Just because when you do start creatine, there is a risk of a little bit of water retention, which can make your weight increase. And if you're trying to lose weight, it's just good not to have that factor in there. So I would rather play it safe and keep it with just the muscle building phase. If you're already taking it, you can continue to take it throughout. Otherwise, what other supplements really are there? I mean, I wouldn't consider this a supplement, but no matter what, you should be taking a multivitamin. You should be taking a probiotic. no matter what phase you're in, you need to take that. But where it starts to get a little gimmicky and like extra is when you start getting into like the fat burners or like the greens and stuff like that. I feel like those are pretty unnecessary just because, let's first talk about fat burners. Fat burners, are they really going to help you burn that much more fat? There's not enough studies on it to really know. Now, if you have problems with water retention or you have problems with inflammation, then those supplements can help out with that. So in my case, I have always felt very inflamed, and I knew that I was always holding on to a lot of water. And we are back. My camera battery died. I must have not have charged it from my last vlog, but I got some coffee. Camera battery should be nice and charged, and we should be able to finish out this podcast. So I believe I was talking about my scenario and with holding on to a lot of water retention. So I could just tell, even when I got super sage lean, I still didn't look very hard. So interesting story about that. My second competition, so this was back when I was competing in a natural federation still. That was the first time that I hired a coach. And he wasn't really specified in bikini bodybuilding. He was more so just like a general weight loss coach who just happened to coach a couple people into a show. And before I stepped on stage, he had me take dandelion tea, which, if you know, that is a natural diuretic. So a natural supplement that is going to basically make you pee a lot and help like get rid of some of the water in your system. Because when you compete in a natural federation, you can technically not take an actual diuretic supplement. But if there is a natural tea that just happens to have a claim that it is like a diuretic, you can technically take that. Because it is a natural supplement. Hence the natural division. So anyway, long story short, he had me take that. And I was very hesitant about it because I know in the bikini division, you don't really want to water deplete because then that can affect you fully filling out. But looking back at how I looked with that show, I actually did have like a good amount of definition. I did look a lot harder. And I don't think I necessarily looked super flat at all. I feel like I just didn't have as much muscle back then. And then, because when I stepped on stage with that show, I weighed 140, I believe. Then I went through a little bit of a muscle building phase. Probably didn't gain that much muscle, but let's just say a pound. And then I went into my next prep, which was the most recent prep that I did. So when I competed in early 2023, when I stepped on stage for that season, I was 133 on stage. So that is a big difference. That is like at least 7 pounds of weight loss. So you would think if I was 7 pounds leaner, plus maybe a little bit of muscle, that I would look a lot leaner. And I definitely looked smaller and I had more shape, especially in my legs, but I necessarily didn't look harder. And I think it was because I was holding on to more inflammation and more water. And just being more aware of that, and now seeing the side effects of my fingers being swollen in the morning, my eyes being swollen, just seeing stuff like that, it made me think like, oh, maybe I just have a lot of water retention throughout my day-to-day life. And because of that, I started taking a burn supplement to see if that would help with that water retention issues. Just because when you do take a burn supplement, yes, it's a claim of like, oh, you're supposed to lose weight, it's supposed to be a thermogenic, blah, blah, blah. But does it really make you lose weight? I don't know, because there's not a lot of studies on it, and they always say to use this supplement in combination with a healthy diet and training. So it's hard to tell. If you do lose weight, did you lose weight because of your healthy eating and your diet, or did you lose weight because of the supplement? It's hard to tell. But circling back, one thing for sure that this supplement does do is that it makes you sweat a lot. So you are losing water weight. And so that goes to show that in my scenario, that supplement was helpful because I had an issue that supplement solved. But if you don't have any bloating issues, if you don't have water retention issues, and you take that supplement, is that going to be necessary for you? Probably not. I've seen a lot of bikini bodybuilders promote like glycogen shuttling pills. So like when you eat carbs, you're supposed to like take this pill and it's supposed to like help shuttle it better. I don't understand that, because when you eat carbs, it doesn't matter what you take with it, your body's pretty much going to process it the same. Like, you can't eat carbs and then take a pill and then cancel out those carbs. Like, it doesn't work like that. If a supplement is trying to claim that, it's going to be complete BS. There is nothing that you can take that cancels out the food that you are taking in. If you're not supposed to eat those carbs, don't eat those carbs. The only thing that I can think that supplement does is maybe be more of like a digestive aid. So it helps you break down those carbs a little bit easier, which then that goes into digestive enzymes. If you are having digestive issues, so your body's not able to break down the food that you're taking in, then digestive enzymes are going to be great for that. I know when I get really deep into prep and calories get super low, sometimes that issue comes up with me where I feel like my digestion really just slows down and it feels just heavy in my stomach. Then I'll take digestive enzymes. It helps. Again, if you don't have that issue, taking digestive enzymes are not going to do anything for you. If something, it's probably going to end up messing you up more, because your body should already be naturally producing those natural digestive enzymes, and you shouldn't have to be supplementing it with. Which, and again, that leads back to the fact that if your body's not doing something right, there's probably a core issue, and you should fix that core issue instead of just relying on supplements. But anyway, otherwise, those are really the big supplements I can think of. There's other like hundreds and hundreds of supplements out there. Just be well aware of why you should be taking it and what your issues are and if it will actually help. All in all, nothing is going to outweigh a healthy diet and exercise regime. Like, that's always going to be the number one thing in any phase you're going through. Weight loss, muscle building. If you're doing like a gut health or like a hormone health phase, the nutrition that you're taking in is going to be the main driving factor, not necessarily supplements. You can take all the supplements in the world. It doesn't matter if they're the best supplements. If you don't have good nutrition, it's not going to help. But anywho, that is pretty much all I wanted to say with this podcast. If you are a bikini competitor and you are looking for a coach to help you through the process, feel free to comment down below, reach out to me on Instagram, reach out to me on Facebook, wherever. Just reach out to me and I can do a free consultation call with you, and we can talk about a game plan. We can do a physique evaluation and just get you set up for your path on to prep. But thank you guys for listening. Otherwise, I will chat with you guys later. Bye.
Listen to me as I